heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes,
facts, boots,
and other stuff.
in this week's issue.
Ridiculous romance comics. Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by the Meister of something to do with love himself, Mr. Mike. You know, at one point in time, I was really good at nicknames.
You were very good for those 2 weeks.
And then, well, here's what it started. It started where I thought I'd be clever, and like each week I was going to give like a sidekick, and you were like the.
I thought I'd be clever and wear a mask every episode too, and then that played itself out as well.
Here's what we're finding out: is we both think that we're clever for a good while, and then it just loses steam. So now I can't even come up with nicknames. I'm Zach.
I don't even remember to put it on anymore.
So you had to. We didn't mirror our cameras. Yeah. So I'm Zach.
Look, there's Zach
Mike,
right there.
I'm pointing the other side of the room. Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. Our Monday edition here.
That's hard.
It is, right?
There we go.
There you go. And
everybody.
Here's the thing is we're pointing in opposite ways. You can't tell. You always remind me of Dr. Nick from The Simpsons when you do the hey
everybody.
Yeah. But our episode today,
copyright strike because I said hey everybody.
If that's why it is, just for that. We didn't show any video. If you haven't, we wrapped up our. If you haven't, I don't know what you haven't. If you haven't,
you should
listened. Yeah, and gone back. We wrapped up our series of the You Decide we did of the three first issues of just three ridiculous comics. One being Guardians of the Galaxy from 1990. Then we did Cops, and then we did Scarlet. And last time I checked,
Scarlet wouldn't be terrible to do.
No,
Cops would be great because
since
it's
we haven't covered
the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah, well, it's that typical late 80s cartoon.
Yeah.
I was gonna pull it up and look real quick to see what was leading. I can tell you last time I saw it though, Mike.
Yeah, I know.
It was
Guardians.
It was Guardians, but that had gotten half the vote.
Disappointed by you, America.
Or
for many reasons,
or at least the part of America that voted for Guardians.
for many reasons, but this being the most egregious.
This is the most.
That's
one.
Right. This is the worst one.
As I pull that up, so I don't even know. We might be getting audio while I'm trying to find this, so that's lovely. Multiple things while I do
You're
this.
fine. While you're doing that, I'm going to tell you a fact. The Texas Creator Awards, which is a thing I'm doing on March 2nd, by the way, the rest of America. We have over 200 entries.
That's awesome.
At this point. Yeah. Now, 60 of them are by one guy, but still.
Do you know the one guy?
Yeah, I know him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not you, is it?
No, he's that Englishman in Texas.
Oh, yes.
Ollie Pettigrew.
Nice. Well, that's
go look him up, folks.
Anyway, so Guardians.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Don't
do that.
Guardians was leading, so I have a feeling we're going to leave it up for a couple more weeks. That unfortunately Mike's going to have to.
So Guardians
listen
is
to more
still
Guardians. Last time I saw, it's still.
You know, you
can
just make this shit up, right?
I know I could, but I like pretending that there's the people that want to go. Mike, I can tell you this.
I do appreciate people voting,
and it took us. It took us a long enough time. I know we're about 4 minutes in, and we need to get to actually this week's issue episode. But for the longest, we had people that listened, but it would be minimal. And now we have people.
For the longest, we had people that would listen,
but it was minimal. But now we have people who listen and they like to give their opinions, and and I appreciate that.
Wonderful.
So I want to do it by the book.
Yeah,
I'm the
which book?
The doing it by the number book. I don't
doing it by the book.
Doing it by the book. There's an old cartoon.
We could write that book.
The doing it by the book. There's an old cartoon that I absolutely love. That's it's the Dover Boys.
I remember the Dover Boys.
Yeah, and it's just the one thing, but it comes in it's making fun of all those other I guess stories at the time, like Hardy Boys and stuff like that.
Well, and it's also very barbershop quartet.
Yeah,
right?
kind of
that in there.
Yeah, they're singing stuff, but again, it's one of my favorites. I absolutely love it. But I was talking about it for a reason while we were getting there. The bad guy in there is a guy by the name of Dan Backslide. Oh, and unhand her, Dan Backslide. But
Backslide.
There's a book because he's trying to kidnap the main damsel in
Uh-huh.
in the story, and she's playing hide and go seek, and he can't get her to let go of the tree that she's wrapped around to play hide and go seek. So he has a book that's, I think it's called The Book for Almost Anything. That's what we need to write, because it's how to dislodge a woman from a tree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's just filled with stuff like that.
I'm just going to write that book, How to Dislodge a Woman from a Tree.
How thick do you think that book is?
It's about 7 pages. But there's a huge index for some reason. I don't know why.
All the terms. There's so much terminology. There's like definitely the glossary, and as 50 pages.
It's like
and
then there's definition, definition, lodge.
Oh man! All right, so go back and vote if you haven't.
What are we doing today?
Coming up on Wednesday, we have Batman. Let me get all my plugs in, Mike. Sorry. We have a Batman, the college years you can look forward to on World's Finest Wednesday this week, which involved skin diving. Remember, I told Mike to remember that. But
there's a lot of skin diving going on in these comics.
And Batman is a world famous hammer thrower now.
A lot of repressed sexuality, I believe.
Just a little bit. That's what Dr. Wortham thought. Today, what we have, Mike, as I go ahead and put us on different sides of our panel. Oh,
that was disorienting.
We have some ridiculous romance comics, and I know how much you do love these. I figured it is that time of year. We're getting close to Valentine's Day. It's kind of a tradition here on Bros, Foes, and Heroes that we would cover old romance comics. There's a good chance that I might have more of these next week, or I might have something else. I can tell you, I'm just going to show it.
So wait a minute. You just said there's a good chance I might have more of these, or I might have something else. So basically, you just said there's a good chance I'll just have something. Is all it is. Yeah.
There is. I'm holding it in my hand. I did also come across, and I don't know if I'll have it done by then. This is Judgment on Gotham. It is a Batman Judge Dredd crossover.
Oh, I like that.
This was something, Mike, that you had in your attic.
Really?
It is.
Oh, look at that. So I didn't even know I owned it.
I started reading it, and I don't know a lot about the world. The art is pretty interesting. It's not too bad. So this is something that could, if not next week. Yeah, I'll let you say it. If not next week,
thanks for
something.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm the one reading.
Look at Batman with his red eyes.
Okay, well, don't get distracted by that. I was just giving you a maybe.
I got it. Yeah.
So we might have that next week. We might have more.
Oh yeah, y'all should vote for this.
Well, we don't vote. Just message us.
Sorry.
Just message me and tell me that's what you want me to do.
I thought we were just voting.
Alan Grant wrote it. I do know that. He wrote a lot of the Judge Dredd stuff. But
okay, I got to put that aside because that is interesting.
See, exactly. Yeah. So I got into a little bit of it. And I might read more of that. And we might do that next week. But what we have this week,
might not,
or we might have more of these. If you're hoping for one of those and it ends up not being that, I'm sorry.
It's something else.
So I have for us a collection of 3 different stories today.
Lady in the Jam.
Exactly. From just peak romance comics that we love.
When is peak? Like 60s?
Well, I'm just saying peak and just storytelling.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It ran from, I think I have one from 3 different decades. I think I have one from the 50s in here, one from the 60s, and one from the 70s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's also a little bit of a little, I don't like a dating profile in a way for somebody that's famous who ended up becoming a president. We'll get to that.
Really?
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan.
It is a Ronald Reagan.
Oh, very nice. I the only reason I guessed that is because Zach brought up Ronald Reagan
earlier
today.
Oddly enough. Man, we just can't talk about Reagan enough.
Just can't talk enough about that Ronald Reagan.
That trickle down economics. So what we have here is our first story. It's called.
Why do you got to tell people it's coming down? Like you can't just call it trickle.
Well,
I mean, a trickle, you know,
does naturally flow down.
It goes down.
That is true. That is
what trickles up.
Well,
nothing trickles up.
I mean,
it goes against trickling.
Is there rules of is that in our book of almost anything?
It's a book of almost anything. Trickling, chapter 1.
Oh, that's the first chapter.
Yeah,
man, we are really reeling them in from the beginning. So what we have here is the story "Lady in a Jam" from Glorious Romances number 67. This was produced back in January of 1952.
It's just amazing to me how many of these they made.
They are. Well, it came out a lot. There was one I saw in the 70s, early 70s. DC was still putting out like 6 romance titles a month. Yeah. So I mean,
they not to spoil anything, they all end with, "But she was fat," and that's it.
They did like to do that a lot. Oh, man, we've covered that with some of the bad writing here around the Silver Age of the time. Art, which is
lazy,
very much
lazy writing.
But art is done by Sam Cooper. I'll give credit when I have it there, and the publisher is Periodical House. But because the art of these still looks good a lot, it's just the stories that are a little bit ridiculous. So we're introduced to this woman. It looks like a mermaid, Mike, at a nightclub. But here's the thing that's not the deal. And I'll go ahead.
That boy is a big old barrel chested thing.
Are you talking about Davy Jones?
Is that his name?
Davy, that's his name. Is Davy Jones. So
love his foot.
Our scene is set. We open Lady in a Jam, where it's like this nightclub, and it's like this guy dressed as a sailor around these people at this nightclub that are staring at this tank with the woman inside who looks to be a mermaid.
Yeah.
Let me read the introduction to set this scene for you, though. This is as our main protagonist of the story.
I'm gonna shield
which
my
is the
eyes
mermaid,
just so I can concentrate on this.
My father had been a stuntman who risked his life diving from a tall tower into a water tank.
Oh.
My mother hated the life we lived, traveling around with my father's act.
Sure.
Although I had learned to do water stunts, I longed for a normal life.
Water stunts.
When my father was killed during his act, I guess somebody moved the tub after he jumped. I don't know. The shock was more than my mother's heart could stand. Before she died, she made me promise to try and get through college and to meet the right kind of people. But
get through college.
But to pay my way through the swanky college she had wanted me to attend, I had to make money. And so I became Undine. That's the mermaid's name. It's Undine.
What?
Undine. Undine. Her name is Undine.
What does that mean?
Like she's Undine the mermaid. I don't know.
But okay.
And then
dumb name.
But then we see Davy Jones there. Hello, landlubbers. This is Davy Jones welcoming you to the Seashell nightclub.
I don't think that's his real name.
It is. It says it on his IP. The only club on or with a real mermaid. Keep your eyes on Undine, Neptune's own glamour girl.
That's a lie.
We know that, Mike.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So we're introduced to our I think Nadine might be our actual.
He looks like a French soldier, you know?
Davy Jones.
Doesn't he look French?
Maybe.
The shirt makes him look French.
Anyway, we find out that
he has a neckerchief on.
It's an ascot, I think.
Weirdo.
The college that she attends looks down on these like establishments.
Well, yeah.
Of just like nightclubs. Not the fact they have a mermaid, just nightclubs in general.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so
it's like the one here in our town. College.
Yeah, she tells Davy, because he's like, the coast is clear for you to come out, because she doesn't want anybody to know that she's a mermaid or that she plays a mermaid at a nightclub. Okay. Because she goes, the college is so particular, Uncle Davy. She calls him Uncle Davy.
Uncle Davy, it's already gross.
We got hosed, Davy. We got hosed. No, stop. That makes me think of Davy and Goliath on those Mountain Dew ads.
Davy and Goliath is something else.
Oh man, but she says that they would expel her if they found out that she really was the mermaid.
For what cause? What's the cause that they're expelling kids from being mermaids in clubs?
She goes, they would consider it undignified and it would give the college the wrong kind of publicity.
Eat my ass. That's dumb.
Well, the college doesn't approve of that either.
Okay. All right. No ass. Got it.
Why they even made the seashell out of bounds for the college students. So the college has sent a memo telling kids, like, don't go to that seashell club.
Go to that
There's a mermaid there.
There's too many hand jobs.
And
don't go there.
But the other club that's closer to town where there's zero, that one's fine.
The Chelsea.
The Chelsea. I cannot do that.
The Chelsea.
So while,
what is her name again? Say it again. What's the mermaid's name?
Undine. It's Undine.
I am just having a hard time moving past that. Undine.
But Uncle Davy tells her that, it doesn't keep people from all the college kids from still coming in. The fact that they tell them not to be here. Yeah. Like there's nothing wrong with this place. We're just, holding the club. There's nothing evil about it.
We're just mermaiding, baby.
We're just mermaiding, making money off of it. Well, as she leaves, she thinks, Uncle Davy, he's probably right. Like the seashell is a nice place. And
it is. Yeah.
But the college faculty, man, they're super strict. And, the place has been such a success that all the people from nearby cities are coming by to see this.
They're so close-minded. I mean, we're just mermaiding, and touching pearls, and
touching pearls.
Yeah, we're touching pearls.
Okay,
that's what they call.
I do love
touching pearls. Yeah.
Okay, I have a different idea for that now.
I do.
So, I love how they just decided not to put any art and just decided to put an entire thing of text in the center. So it's like panels, and it looks like maybe a panel of art should go there, but it's just a long block of text that goes, The success of Undyne and the Seashell made it possible for me to live and dress and act like any of the other students in the college who came from well-to-do homes. But because I was not as sure of myself as the other girls, and because I was always afraid I might make a slip that might expose my background, I might be worried that I might tell other people I pretend to be a mermaid.
That's probably why they don't want you in there. You can't be exposing your background to people.
The other students regarded me as quiet and reserved, even shy, the studious type. So because she's this studious type,
they didn't know I like to get in water.
No, and I do water stunts.
This is the dumbest thing. Like,
I feel like you say that every week.
She said water stunts.
She says water stunts.
I bet there's a category on OnlyFans that's called water stunts.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
She's Undyne.
Yeah.
Gotta be top earner.
Undyne, OnlyFans, water stunts, touching the pearls. Yep.
Oh man.
Put that puzzle together.
It's ages.
All right, so they're meeting these people in a forest.
They are. Oh, you threw me off. I was trying to get back. All right, so she draws the attention of a guy named Jay Lawton, whose father is an English lit professor, right? And he wants to be a teacher too.
He's the guy with the bow tie.
He's the guy with the bow tie. As they're walking about and she's falling for this Jay guy, they pass another couple named Nanette Sawyer and Nolan Murphy, who are like,
with these stupid names.
The person, right?
Nanette
and Nolan. Just think about it's the two most popular people there could ever be, right?
Yeah,
they're both pretty and they're both rich, and everybody loves them. That's Nanette and Nolan.
They both love hot dogs.
But Jay is just like, you know what? Even though Nanette's popular, like she's just marrying him for his money. Like she's not that great. I'm sorry. I hate that Nolan can't see that, but thankfully I can, and I get to see a girl like you. Right?
Can I touch your pearl?
No. What is her name? I forget our Undyne's name.
It's Sally.
No, it's
Sally.
not. It's something that starts with an N.
Sally and Jeff.
Anyway.
He tries to eat her face. Look at that. Several times.
He does. He gets close enough and just pulls away. So Jay takes our mermaid to go meet his parents.
And she is not a mermaid right now.
No, Zach. She's not, but I can't think of her name, so I'm calling her the mermaid.
You can't be calling her a mermaid.
See, this is what happens when I read
That's
things
the kind of
and then I go over the weekend.
That has caused the clamshell to not be...
Seashell is the name of the club.
Caused the seashell to not be more popular amongst the faculty.
Yeah. I don't think it said her name. I wonder if she even has a name.
Her name is Lady in the Blue Dress.
No,
with a big collar.
With the blue dress.
They have such big collars.
That was the style back then.
Here's I'm gonna make one more observation, then I will shut up for a minute. They wore so many clothes in this time.
They did.
So
we gotta be modest. So
I don't mean just that. Like even the guys, they'll have like a sweater vest under a jacket with a shirt and an undershirt on and all that. It's like it took you like 40 minutes to get dressed.
No, you're right. So they go and introduce her to Jay's parents, who say, like, fortunately, I had little inheritance of my own, but I used it to like help my help my husband like study abroad. And it seems like you'll be able to do the same to help Jay when he wants to be a professor and go study abroad. You'll be able to fit the bill for him.
And then he ran off with that broad.
Yeah, and then Jay's mom tells our mermaid a professor's wife can be such a help to him, and you are exactly the kind of girl that we hope Jay would pick.
Yeah.
So essentially, his parents are telling him, like, because our mermaid would love to travel.
Right.
She wants to go see France, right?
Yeah. Port to port.
She'd love to live there. No, she just wants to live in France for a year.
And
while
that damn shirt.
She saw Davy's shirt every day.
All she can do is think of shirts in France.
But to live there while Jay, after they get married, studies, but realizes, well, for them to stay there, I'm going to have to pay for it all, which means that I'm going to need more money, which means I'm going to need to keep being Undyne to save up for this. If he knew here's the thing. There's a lot of these in romance comics, and I get it, but it's a lot of, if he knew who I really was.
Yeah.
And that's what we have here.
Undyne sounds like an MLM.
A little bit. So that night,
love their soap.
That night she studied and figured, I hate not being able to tell Jay the truth. Fortunately, I'm making enough money to pay my college expenses and still put money in the bank. And I'll tell him how much money she's making.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like number one, how does she get paid? Is it just a regular
Tips.
paycheck,
Tips.
or is it all
People
tips?
throw dollar bills into the thing, and she has to fish it out before it gets wet.
At that time, it was half dollar pieces.
Oh, that's fine. You
it would come down. You'd have to replace the fish so often because it'd get fiend by those pieces of metal.
With them, like,
that's what I'm saying. Just dead fish floating up to the top because people are hitting them with coins.
An overzealous fan just dumps a cup full of coins down there,
and the water is just so zinc filled.
Oh man,
that these fish can't breathe. It's a mess.
Zinc, the real killers of fish.
Zinc.
But
yeah, I just don't. I don't understand how she's getting paid.
Well, I don't.
You know,
it doesn't specify. That's the beauty of it.
I think she's giving Finn jobs.
No, she's respectable, Mike.
Like that.
Not the
flops around like that.
That's more of a dorsal fin kind of thing. Well, I guess you didn't specify what fin.
Yeah.
I have no clue what the fuck
I don't know what we're talking about.
I just threw that out there.
It's weird.
So, she'll tell him that that's what's left of her of their inheritance, whatever she saves, and they can live off that. While
she needs to water that damn tree behind her.
But then she goes, after my engagement to Jay became known, she had to start working more to keep it up.
Yeah.
I really became a part of the college life. It made my career as Undyne a little harder since my act at the Seashell went on at 11:15 each night. Yikes. I always had to manage to leave parties and dances in time to make it, and somehow get out of my dates with Jay before time.
How late is this damn clamshell open?
At least till 2. So while they're at the party there, it says,
well, then what's she bitching about? It's an hour and a half. It's an hour and 45 minutes.
No, it's 2 hours and 45
no, I'm sorry,
minutes.
2 hours and 40. Oh my God, her workday is 3 hours. That's rough.
No, she's upset that she has to cut her other stuff short.
I know. She can't go be a socialite.
But Jay tells her at this party one night, Dad is at a faculty meeting and they're talking about making another try to put the Seashell out of business, and that worries her.
Why do they fucking care? I just don't get it.
And she says,
"It's so stupid. Why do they care?"
Oh, but why, Jay? I've heard it isn't really a bad place.
Here we go. Now we're gonna get some information.
And then he says, you wouldn't know anything about a place like Eula is her name. There we go.
Eula?
He go, yeah, EULA.
Eula? Like the thing you have to read to agree to install an app on your phone? It's Eula.
That's her name.
Wow, okay.
It says, you wouldn't know anything about a place like that, Eula. A girl appears there with hardly any clothes on. She's supposed to be a mermaid, and then fellows sit around and drink and watch her. That's how they describe it. But then
he didn't say like their pants are around their ankles or anything.
He's insinuating it though, isn't he?
I guess, yeah.
He kind of makes it sound like he's like, do you believe it? She dresses up in a mermaid and they just drink and watch her.
Oh my God.
But Mr. Popular, Nolan.
Is it Nolan?
It's Nolan. It was Nolan and Annette, remember?
Okay, Nolan and Annette. Yeah, you're right.
So Nolan speaks up and goes, I think the faculty is wrong on that, Jay, and so are you. Undyne is a gorgeous creature and puts on a clever act. I'd like to know who she really is, but she won't let anyone see her out of the tank. Probably because she's
not hiding her face. There's nothing on her face.
They won't let her out of the tank because she can't breathe, and we aren't able to know who she is. But if she did, no.
At least some of these idiots wear those domino masks or something.
She doesn't.
She's got nothing.
You know the warped effect that water has.
Maybe.
Sometimes? I'm thinking that's what it is.
Oh, she looks different there.
Well, she lets her hair down, I guess, or she adds extensions. I don't know. So,
and
Nolan's
it's such a clever show. He says she puts on such a clever show. I mean, she sits there with such grace.
And I drink and I watch her, and it's so clever.
How does she breathe?
With water stunts. Nolan also adds the Seashell is a perfectly respectable place. A lot of the jukebox places the college tolerates are worse.
Jukebox places.
It's like a lot of the clubs they offer, they don't even have a mermaid, and they're a lot worse.
Starts with T and rhymes with P and stands for pool. Music Man.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
River City.
Here.
Nanette says, I'm tired of hearing about you rave about Undyne. That's all you ever do is talk about this mermaid girl.
Talk about this mermaid girl, you creep.
And Jay says, all I've got to say, Nolan, if you're ever there when they raid the place and you get caught, you'll be expelled.
What are they raiding? I don't understand this.
And then so they leave.
What is the crime?
And Eula does ask, why should they raid a place like the Seashell,
thank
Jay?
God.
No one is doing anything wrong there. And he says, if they raid it, it may scare them into closing. Can you imagine Nolan Murray raving about some nightclub girl when he's got a girl like Nanette? So later,
it makes no sense.
Later at the Seashell, as Eula's sitting there getting ready for her show at 11:15, she's got plenty of time. I don't know why she's complaining about. If they close the Seashell, I won't be able to finish college, and if I stop earning money, I won't have any inheritance to help Jay after we're married.
I mean, it's not like he can go to work at one of those jukebox places.
And then she goes, well, I thought also like he didn't approve of Nanette. Like, but tonight it sounded like he was almost jealous that Nolan had a girl like her. I wonder if Jay tried to make time for Nanette before he met me and she turned him down for Nolan.
Could be.
Yeah. So I usually tried not to look out at the audience. I knew there were always people from college and it would be easier to be impersonal when I didn't see them. But tonight I was aware of Nolan at the front table. And she's thinking, and she goes, Nanette isn't with him. Perhaps they quarreled because he wanted to come here. It's a little thrilling to think someone like Nolan thinks Undyne is gorgeous. Look how close they are, Mike, and he cannot tell it's the same girl.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't worry. It's
he
almost
has face blindness.
But you know what happens? They raid the Seashell.
Okay.
That's
for what?
The 3 cops. It just says, everybody stay where you are. And she's in the tub and goes, oh, Uncle Davey told me tonight this wouldn't happen. What shall I do? Like, he knows.
Everybody stay where you are. Okay.
Well,
why wouldn't I don't.
Well, Uncle Davey told her.
Go?
Uncle Davey told her it's not going to happen.
I swear to God, you said Uncle Dan.
Oh, Uncle Davey. Is Uncle Davey calling the cops to be like, hey, are you guys raiding us tonight? And they're going, no,
probably not tonight.
Guys.
Yeah,
okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
No, not tonight. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets out of the tank.
We have so many raids tonight.
Frantically, I went through the little trap door in the bottom of my tank. But when I reached the hall, I found the zipper on part of my costume that freed my feet was caught. And Uncle Davey was being held by the police and couldn't help me. And so Nolan runs back there and she's like, I should have known I couldn't keep up these pretenses. But he scoops her up and carries her away. And he's like, here, don't bother. I'll carry you out. And it says, as Nolan Murray picked me up, I was terrified, ashamed, and thrilled. And he goes, this is where Nolan gets a little creepy. He goes, I knew the way back here.
This is where he gets creepy.
He goes, I knew the way back here because I've been trying to get a chance to meet you for months. But each time Davy Jones would catch me and chase me away. Just as he did everyone else who tried to meet you. And he goes, maybe I can help you get away. Oh, and the cops showed up. So they put them both in the patrol wagon. And
paddy wagon.
They did. And as he leans in, Nolan goes, you haven't done anything wrong. And I know Davy Jones can fight the whole thing. Your act is wonderful. And you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'll call my father lawyer and he'll help. Suddenly, Nolan made me look at him. Oh,
Nolan made me look at him. Look at me.
He goes, oh, I've made such a mess of everything. I should have known I couldn't get away with it. And Nolan goes, why, I know you. You're the girl who's engaged to Jay Lawton.
Hey.
Eula Holman. She gets a last name randomly.
Eula Holman.
And she's like, yeah, I am.
Somebody got a bonus if they could use all of the vowels.
And she's like, see, you were just wasting your time thinking I was glorious and glamorous. And he goes, you are gorgeous and talented. And the fact that you can be quiet and studious makes you even more interesting. The fact that you're seen and not heard makes you appealing to me is essentially what he just said, right?
Love that about you.
What the hell, man? All right, it's the 50s. Because it was a dreadful ordeal, and only Nolan's presence made it endurable. But
Kiss me, you wonderful man.
But influential people from town came to our assistance and proved the Seashell was a reputable place that was an asset to the town instead of a liability. So although Uncle Davey won his case and would remain open.
Won his case? What the hell was the case?
We don't know.
Oh.
My identity was disclosed, and I knew my college career was over, and so was my engagement to Jay. So she gets unengaged from Jay, but don't worry. Nolan's there to save her.
Sure,
he goes, Eula, you're the most fascinating girl I've ever met. I fell in love with you as Undyne, and now I'm in love with you as you are. I fell in love with something that you weren't, but now I love you for you.
The thing about Nolan is it doesn't really come across there is whenever he talks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. With you when you were in the tank.
Oh, man.
I love you even more now. That's the way he speaks.
He adds to let her know. He does like that, just very mumbling.
That's it.
That was just a day, girl. No, he says
I have a broken uvula.
He says, Nanette was just a date girl. She knew I wasn't serious about her,
Yeah.
but she always hoped to get her hands on the Murray money. You know, that Murray money. As for my family, unlike the Laughtons, they want me to pick my own wife and be happy.
Yeah.
So
you can do both. It's the 50s.
And they get together, and that's the end of that.
So I did look up what could possibly be making this club bad.
Okay.
Right? Because what I searched for was were mermaids ever considered bad?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Because I thought, well, maybe there was a time.
Yeah.
You know, here's what I get. Are mermaids good or bad for humans? Though sometimes kindly, mermaids were usually dangerous to humans. Their gifts brought misfortune and could cause disasters. They sometimes lured mortals to death by drowning or enticed young people to live with them underwater.
Well, they can't breathe.
That's what I'm saying.
Was it Kinks Mason? No, it wasn't Kinks Mason. It was.
By the way, the Bible didn't specifically say the word mermaid.
That's true.
Just tell.
Or was it Barry Kuda? It was Barry Kuda. Remember, his father was a scientist, and thanks to the thousands of scientific secrets, he just taught him how to breathe underwater.
Yeah,
and it was never explained. So I was thinking those mermaids lead them astray, the kids underwater, to teach them how to breathe. Maybe
I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you've not ever used Quora, have you ever used Quora?
Yeah.
Quora.
Yeah.
It is the most ridiculous thing. Like, it comes up with are mermaids, dinosaurs, aliens, and dragons real? What does the Bible say?
That doesn't talk about them.
Well, it says
directly. I guess.
People ask it the most ridiculous questions.
Have you ever seen the old College Humor, which I guess is now Dropout bit, where it's if Google were a real person? And I just remember the people searching.
I did see that.
Yeah, the people searching. It's just like, why? You know, it's just the broken English like that of like, why meat bad? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just of questions, which sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I will type a question like that. But
Bible doesn't say anything about mermaids. Talks about sea monsters. Talks about what's been suggested to be a stegosaurus or an animal such as Job 40, and accurately describes a giant fire-breathing sea squamate.
Hold on, it talks about specifically a stegosaurus.
So it says,
Mike, we are in the middle of the Bible Belt here.
And
I know that we probably know a little bit more about religion in some terms than other people do.
Yeah.
Do you remember the stegosaurus?
No, I don't remember the stegosaurus part. I probably would have paid more attention.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I need to go back.
I just remember people turning to salt and shit. That was about it. That's all I remember.
I don't remember.
Now, here's another question for you.
So is it like Bowser? Go ahead.
Are mermaids demonic? You want to know the answer?
Yes.
Yes. That's it. That's the answer.
But they're not, huh? All right.
So they're demonic. So maybe that's it. Well, maybe people thought they were bad, and so the club, the clam shell, the seashell, the she shells, maybe that's what it was.
So we go from one monster to another with the Taming of the Brute. Is our story now. This is from Just Married, issue number 53 from July of 1967. My grandfather did. The writer is Joe Gill. The artist is Vince Coletta, and the publisher is Charlton. Actual comic book tidbit about Vince Coletta. Vince Coletta was known for, he did art for these, but eventually he comes in and he starts doing a lot of work as an inker for Marvel and DC and stuff. He inks a lot. And the reason he gets a lot of work is because he's very quick. But what he does is he shades in a lot of stuff, or like people in the 4 characters, he does not feel like, putting in, he'll just color over them and stuff. And so a lot of things, it got to a point of where
he drew this.
Okay. But it got to a point of where, like, a lot of stuff, if you go back and look at like Jack Kirby's Thor, of how like grand and just big he would make some of the scenes for Asgard and stuff like that. When Vinny Coletta would go back, like, he would color in and stuff, and it doesn't look as bold, but he was quick, and that's how he always got work.
Their crotches are far too close to each other.
They are.
They feel like one crotch.
The thing about Vinny Coletta is also the guy, the story goes, who leaked Kirby's Fourth World, all of that stuff that he was doing for DC. He snuck into, like, he was working as a what do you call it when you you don't work for the company, but you do work for them.
Oh, like a consultant.
Yeah, but there's a word for it. Like, you get paid per job.
Like you're working for spec. You're I don't know.
Freelancing. There we go. He was freelancing for both.
There it is. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, he was freelancing for both. And so he was at the DC office turning in work and saw it on somebody's desk and like took pictures of all of it and like took it back to Marvel.
God, what a creep.
Yeah. And like apparently like, you know, they had it like hung up at Marvel and they were just like laughing about it and shit like that. Yeah. No, there's stories like that.
I want to know why this guy has an arm growing out of the side of his head.
But well, he's part Stegosaurus. So let's get into the publisher for this was Charlton Comics again, 1967 for the Taming of the Brute.
Charlton did a lot of this shit.
They did. Let's dive into the beginning of this. This one should be a quicker one. Nick's been after me for weeks to go out.
Like a challenge
to go out with him. And this afternoon, he comes up to me, disregarding Georgie, who took me to the beach, asked for a date. Georgie says, "See here, Nick, you." And Nick doesn't even look angry as he slaps my, as of this moment, ex-boyfriend down. And then before I can scream, slap, or even pucker, he's got me in his arms, kissing me, and I love it. This is what happens when men write women's comics. Not to say that couldn't happen, but still.
That is frightening.
It is.
That seems like
she's thinking as she gets
assault.
Yeah, he's just like grabbing her face. Yeah. She's kissing her after like knocking down her boyfriend. And she's just like, he's unbelievable, absolutely wild, but I'll tame him. When I'm through with him, he'll be absolutely domesticated. So,
okay.
He's just like, don't pretend. Yeah, this whole story, Mike.
Hey, lady, that doesn't happen.
This whole story, Mike.
Yeah.
Is her like, oh, they're so great together. Like, hey, Nick is fun to be with. And I don't hate all of those lovely muscles as much as I pretend to.
Sure.
And he asked her, I do love this. Can you swim underwater? And she goes, of course. Why? And he goes, just do it and I'll show you, which is a weird thing to say to somebody. And they're like, oh.
You like seaweed, lady?
Yeah. They have old Greg underwater sex.
Old Greg.
When he said, you like Bailey's.
Greg.
And he's like, well, girl, this is what you thought he meant, isn't it? And like they kiss underwater, which to me just sounds like they're letting just like, that doesn't sound safe. That's how you drown, right?
Well, it's not only how you drown, it's how you get a fish in your mouth.
That too. But they come up and he's like, just wait, my lady. I'll be around maybe for the rest of your life.
Just said my lady.
He did say my lady. Well, he shows up to pick her up for a date and he's not wearing a suit.
Where's his like neckbeard hat?
I don't know.
Those are the people who say my lady. Yeah.
He shows up to pick her up for a date and she goes, sorry, Nick, not with you looking like that, and makes him leave and come back dressed in a suit. And she's like, oh, well, please come in, Mr. Mash. Like she changes her tune.
It's like this weird ass 50 Shades kind of thing we got going on here.
She is domesticating him, Mike. He was a brute, and she's turning him into the man that she wants. So he also comes back with flowers, not just a suit.
Sure.
And he goes, thank you, Nick. And you look absolutely handsome. And he goes, I'm glad now that I wore a necktie. And they kiss.
A necktie.
And then she goes, he has frequent lapses, forgetting that a lady likes to have a car door open for her.
Sure.
Which, again, a lot of dudes nowadays have that. So that's fair. She can complain about Nick.
I get that
all she wants to.
Yeah.
He goes, I thought you said you'd like to have dinner at Hugo's. What are you standing there like that for? And she goes, I may turn around and go back inside the house. Like she's just standing there waiting for him to get out and open the door.
So
he's like, oh, I'm sorry, hun. And he hops out and he runs around the other side and he opens it. And she goes, you may be hopeless, Nicholas. We'll wait and see. Like she's just like, still at him. He's a Marv dancer, which I think is short for marvelous. So they were doing stupid things with words.
Is that?
Just somebody there at the club snapping. They're playing with
I love this mermaid club.
The seashell. I'm so glad they didn't put it out of business when they ran
those. It hasn't been a raid in months.
And I wonder why they do everything on the up and up here. Well, except for when Undine died.
Sure. Undine drowned.
Oh man.
And they just sat there and watched with their drinks.
They just drink. That's all they ever did with Undine though. And he pulls out
sure.
He pulls out he pulls out her chair for her.
Yeah.
And she sits down and she's like, oh, you're showing a lot of promise. To draw?
No, to pull out a chair for a lady, like, and then have her sit in it, and then you got to wait for her to like move the right way.
The pushing in part's the tough part.
It sucks.
The pulling
it's dumb. Yeah, it's really stupid. I mean, I don't mind, like pulling the chair aside. My wife can sit down or whatever. That's great. But then you get to this weird, like, that kind of thing, trying to get her into the table. Anyway.
I get it. And she's got to help with it too, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lift your ass.
Oh man. then what did she go? Oh, if you weren't so gorgeous, I'd walk out of here right now, is what he tells her. Because she says, one of these days, Brute, you'll wake up and discover you've turned into a gentleman.
Oh.
Like she's telling him, yeah. And he's like, oh, if you weren't so gorgeous, I'd walk out of you right now. Like,
oh, what? Shit, I'm a gentleman. Is that how that works?
I thought he was crying. I didn't realize
no, he was waking up.
That was him waking up. Okay. She says he's fighting back, but he doesn't have a chance. And it shows them like on, I guess, like make out point or something, because they're maybe
submarine races,
or maybe it's outside their house. I don't know. But he goes, if I'm so crude, maybe you better not go out with me again. And she goes, now, darling, don't pout. She's just playing with him. And he goes, this one is not going to get away. And I'm beginning to believe I've got plans which include him. So I'm sure I don't want him to go away.
I just love how.
Oh, that's she goes, sorry. She goes, don't be mean, Nick. Please kiss me goodnight. And he goes, well, and then she thinks, I'm sure I don't want him to go away mad. Okay.
Don't go away mad. Just go away.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how many of these stories are just this. I'm going to meet somebody. I'm going to completely change them or make them fit what I want to because I got to be married. I can't be by myself. Everybody will be disappointed in me and I'll be an old spinster.
Again, you're asking guys who were writing
superhero
comics
about that. Yeah.
To try to write romance.
True.
You're going to get stuff like this. Like, not to say that I think obviously it's better, like better writers can write better romance.
Sure.
But also at the same time, like, how deep are you going to get on a kid's comic like this too?
Well,
not saying, I mean, that's not towards you. I'm just kind of thinking out loud in general.
I get it. No,
I'm just, you have to be so superficial.
I think we've talked about that before. This does not seem like a child's comic.
No. And like,
none of this.
I'm assuming like in their minds, they're like, oh, we're doing this for like teenage girls, but like, what teenage? You're
darling, let's go stand in front of her window.
You're telling a teenage girl that she should change everything about herself. Then
well, that's advertising in general, though.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
You're not perfect. Fix
it.
Yeah.
You should never let a man define your worth.
So girls don't poop. Things like that.
I love how we had just two completely different sides of. So it goes back to them. And I don't know, they make out outside. Everything's going well.
They made out in front of a window.
By a
curvy tree. And in the bushes.
It does say at times he got so terribly simple. Or he's got terribly simple habits, like racing up and down the beach, playing childish games instead of behaving the way a date should. And it shows them like playing a date should.
Okay.
And it shows them like playing, I guess, with some of the fellow like kids there on the beach.
Football.
It goes, so I twist his arm a little. And he goes, of course you can borrow my car, but why? The game's almost over, Anne. And she goes, one of your playmates can give you a ride home, and you can pick up your car at my house tonight. Like, she's just very much.
It's kind of a turd.
It is. That night, though, Nick was so angry. I thought he was going to hit me, is what she thinks.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And she goes, but he didn't. And I'll bet he's going to propose tonight.
But he didn't. So I love him.
He didn't. And I bet he's going to propose tonight. That was her thing.
What a low-ass bar you're setting.
Either he's going to hit me or I'm going to get proposed to.
I hope I don't get punched. I hope I get a ring.
Oh, man,
wow.
The writing. Yeah.
That is rough.
She needs somebody better than Nick if that's the two options.
That's what I'm saying.
And she goes, he does, and I accept. And we get married in my church, which apparently is a big deal.
Yeah.
And he lets me choose his best man.
What?
That's what it says.
How does that work?
So maybe she's like, I don't like any of your friends. My friend Rachel is going to be your best friend. This
bald guy will be your best friend.
Since you don't make any good friends, I've hired Steve from the bank to fill in as our best man.
Steve from the bank.
And he goes, I want a double ring ceremony, and he only wants me to wear a ring. So I slipped the golden band on his finger.
Wait.
And an invisible ring through his nose.
He only wants me to wear a ring?
Because he wants to be able to hit on all the ladies.
Yeah, apparently.
But again, they have her say, I slipped the golden band on his finger.
A ring around his nose.
And an invisible ring through his nose.
Yeah.
Like a bull.
Yeah.
That's how they would lead bulls.
Right.
And she tells him that we're going to honeymoon in Paris. Poor Nick. He actually wanted to go to Miami. So Nick's just getting screwed all the way around, and not even in the best ways on his honeymoon.
Nick loves mosquitoes.
And this goes, poor Nick does have a problem, but I try to help him correct all of his worst habits. Which, by the way, up there on the top left, Mike, I would like to say that is the origin of that meme that we see all the time of the guy looking back.
It's
right?
Look back.
Is it not a little bit?
It kind of is.
So this was from 1967.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
but it happened in Paris.
It happened in Paris, so it doesn't count.
It's okay.
Then on the honeymoon, when the honeymoon is over and they're coming back,
he looks so sad.
He does.
Look at him.
Because she goes, "Can I get you anything, Mr. Mastros?" And he goes, "Nothing, thank you." And she goes, "That's my boy. I'm glad you didn't spend any money on the airplane." I don't know why that's her boy. Like, he's not looking at these women, or he's not, like, I don't know what the deal is.
Normally it's the guy that is the real jackass in these things, but this one goes the other direction.
It does. And he, like, carries her home through the house. And she goes, "I break him in early. He's a treasure in the house," as it shows him, like, vacuuming around everything.
Early.
Sometimes I get nervous. It's almost as if Nick is overdoing a good thing. And they're having a couple over for company. And the guy goes, "After seeing this, I all of a sudden decided I'm never going to get married." And Nick just goes, "More coffee, anyone? How about you, Loretta?" Like, he's just turned into like this.
Yeah.
He's keeping house. I'm never going to get married.
Yeah.
Well, as they lean in,
I also cut his fast difference in the middle of the night.
So the two girls are talking, and she goes,
slap.
Yeah, now hold on, just wait. The two girls are talking.
I saw the slap before I saw the other thing. Yeah.
It could have been something else.
God almighty.
The two girls are talking to.
Well, that's bad enough. I mean, that's not. All right, two girls are talking. Sorry.
And I forget our main character's name now.
Billy.
What is her name?
Jeffrey.
No, it was
Susan.
Not Nanette.
Patty.
I don't know. Whatever. They do a terrible job of naming these women too. Like, it's said once.
Her name is
Loretta. Maybe it's Loretta.
Maybe it is.
But she goes, "How did you do it, chum? It's positively amazing. He's like a timid little lamb." And she goes, "Remember the first day, how he knocked George down and then kissed you? What a brute he was then." And she goes, "What have I done? More importantly, how can I undo it?" So she goes over to Nick and goes, "Nick, can't you clean up more quickly? And the coffee is worse than usual tonight. In the morning, you," and he goes, "You folks better go. I guess it's about time I quit kidding this tomato I'm married to, ...
Tomato.
And then it shows down, slap, as the two of them walk by, and the guest goes, "Why, that brute is," and his friend goes, "I hope to heavens he is."
What?
Like, the woman guessed.
So he hopes to heaven that he is spanking his wife,
or doing worse. We don't know. We just hear slap. She's like, "That."
Well, that's true.
That brute.
They don't know what that slap is.
And she's like, "That brute's so abusive." And he's like, "Oh, he's knocking her around, knocking some sense into her."
Good God.
Yeah. And we do see the panel of where Nick has her bent over his knee. And he goes, "I asked for it and I got it, but I certainly didn't expect for it to be this painful." And it says, now, woman, who wears the pants in this family?" As he spanks her.
Well, and
you do, Nick. I'll never forget it again.
There's probably like entire generations that came after this comic that now have like a spanking fetish.
Well, yeah.
Just because of this thing.
I get that.
Because it was normalized.
I don't get that. Wow, that sounded weird.
I'm saying it was normalized for him in this comic. No. Because again, like we were saying, this is not a child's comic.
No, not at all.
This chick gets spanked at the end of it. I mean,
well, and that's the thing too. They're like, domestic abuse. That's cool. Well, I mean,
sure,
it's not. They're like, "Oh, it's spanking," but like still, like,
well,
grabbing somebody.
Think about like, and this was something I saw the other night, and I hadn't thought about this in a while. But like the honeymooners.
Yeah.
Think about that. The whole catchphrase is "Pow, zoom! I'm gonna punch you in the fucking face." Is basically what he's saying.
Yep. Oh, that's hilarious. Spousal abuse is funny. Wow. But it does end with, "I learned later from Nick that he was humoring me, waiting for me to come to my senses, and he finally gave in and gave me a hint." So the hint is what?
Sucked her face.
Beating you? No,
suck your face is a hint.
Anyway, she tried to tame the brute.
Wow,
and then he had to spank her.
Ridiculous is what that is.
That leads us to
slap.
Picture there biography of Ronald Reagan. He was their Dreambo of the Month in Sweethearts Magazine 111. from May of 1952. You want me to tell you about Mr. Reagan?
Please tell me about Mr. Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, who in addition to being one of the most popular and likable screen heroes, is regarded as a first citizen of Hollywood for his interest and participation in government and civic affairs.
Do you remember his big movie?
No.
The one that they always brought up?
Is it
Bedtime for Bonzo? And it's about him and a monkey.
Lovely.
Yep.
He was born on February 6th, 1912.
Oh, wow.
And his interest in sports was almost from the start. He was a freshman in high school. He made the football squad, although he was so small, he could hardly be seen. And we drew a picture of that.
He's so tiny.
And then they like to let you know that they're cool with him. Ronnie grew fast. And by the time he was in junior year, he was playing regularly on varsity. During the summer, he became a lifeguard at a resort and kept this up for the next 7 years. Hold on.
You're a lifeguard for 7 years?
If his junior year, let's say he was 16, he was a lifeguard until he was 23.
Wow.
During his seasons as lifeguard, Ronnie is credited for saving 77 lives.
And then he ate a microphone.
77 lives. He saved 11 people every summer.
Wow.
Well, no, make that make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. I think that pool is very unsafe.
Yes, it's full of zinc.
It's full of zinc.
Ronnie became interested in dramatics in high school and further pursued his interest in it at Eureka College in Illinois, where for the last 2 years in school, he earned his way as a swimming coach. Well, he saved all those people. He knows a thing or two about swimming. When Eureka entered the Northwestern University drama contest, Ronnie was one of its actors and won an honorable mention in the competitions.
Honorable mention.
After graduation,
you were there.
Ronnie became a radio announcer in Des Moines, Iowa for 4 years. He covered top flights, sport events in the Midwest. It's hard to read this one down here.
Ronnie's set on a horse.
Radio led to a Hollywood contract, and except for a stint in the Army, from which he was discharged with the captain's rank, he has been making pictures steadily. In 1948, Reagan was among a group of Hollywood stars invited to participate in the London Command performance before their majesties. Reagan is also an avid outdoorsman, and whenever he isn't busy acting before the cameras, he spends all of his free time at his horse breeding farm.
Fucking a horse.
Which he owns in partnership with a friend who is also part horse.
I gotta go see a man about a horse. All right, Ronnie, get the hell out of here.
Oh, so there you go. There's the Ronald Reagan biography that I thought was just random in these.
I don't know which to do, mommy. There's a man on a horse and there's a man drowning. Which one do I do? I've already saved so many.
77 men.
I've already saved so many, mommy.
Oh man.
I used to call her mommy.
Did he really?
Yeah.
No, that's a little weird.
Mommy.
All right, you ready for our last story then, Mike?
God, that was great.
Minnie must go.
Uh-oh.
So
this is 70s.
This is Love and Romance, issue number 6.
Yeah.
From June of 1972. Our pencils here are by Charles Nicholas. Inks are by Vince Alacia. And the publisher is Charlton again.
Yeah, sure.
So what we have here is Mr. Childers never was aware of a problem in the office.
He's just looking at girls' asses is all he's doing.
Until that's essentially what this is. Until Gina Tate was assigned to be his secretary. After that, he just couldn't concentrate on sales reports, cost analysis, or interoffice memos. Poor Mr. Childers became aware that something would have to be changed. And he goes, and this area, blast it. Where did I stop? And Miss Tate goes, you seem nervous, Mr. Childers. Should I get you a glass of water? And he goes, Miss Tate, is that garment you're wearing rather on the skimpy side? And Miss Tate looks and goes, as a matter of fact, Mr. Childers, my dress is like at least an inch longer than 2 or 3 other ones out there in the office. And he goes out and he looks and he like strokes his chin as he looks and he goes, yes, chin, all right. I see what you mean, Miss Tate, right? Like it's kind of creepily just staring at them all. And he goes, Mr. Childers tried, but, and it is honestly him just sitting there not being able to look at his papers because he's staring at her ass.
Yeah. And then he meets Hitler.
And then it says, Miss Tate, file those contracts.
That is one of the creepiest panels I've ever, again, children's comic.
Assuming
right?
So. Yeah.
That's what we're assuming here. Well, he's just looking at her ass. He's looking at the legs. He's looking at all the girls' asses.
Yes, all of them. And he goes, Miss Tate, file those contracts later. Right now, I'm trying to concentrate on this. And she goes, what's this got to do with? Like, I'm okay. Sorry, Mr. Childers. And he's like, I haven't done any work. I haven't done any work in 3 days. I wig out every time she wears that mini in here, talking about her skirt.
Yeah.
Not like a dog or anything.
No, not like Minnie Mouse.
And then as they're leaving, he talks to his fellow worker.
Salvador Dali.
Salvador Dali's name's actually Jeff. And he goes, look at him, Jeff. The minis get shorter every day. Oh. And Jeff goes, yeah, great, isn't it? And then Mr. Childer goes, prepare a memo, Jeff. Hemlines will come down. There will be no more micro mini skirts in this office.
I'm tired of seeing their wombs.
So then he expected protests from the girls, but they accepted his rules without too much fuss.
Of course.
And he goes, good morning, Anne. You look great in that dress. And she goes, well, thank you, Mr. Childers. And he's like, good morning, Muriel. Good morning, Chuck. And Chuck is pissed. You see how Chuck looks at him? He's like, yeah.
It's like, all right.
And it says, good morning, Mr. Childers. Concerning your office memo, all the girls have complied with your wishes. And he goes, I noticed that, Miss Tate. Aren't you over? Knees. He's like, aren't you over complying? I mean, I didn't mean you have to dress like they did in the 30s.
Yeah.
And she just ignores him, and she's like, I'm ready, Mr. Childers.
Well, she should.
And she like readjusts her leg, like how she's sitting, and there she has a seam in her skirt.
What the fuck is going on out in the hall?
I don't know, party.
I hope can y'all hear that?
I don't know.
I don't know who I'm expecting to answer me, but
hey, everybody that we can't hear out there, did y'all hear that? But he's like, your skirt seems undone. And she's like, no, obviously you're a dumb dude who doesn't know how women's fashion works. No. She doesn't say that, but she's like, this is a midi, Mr. Childers. It's the way it's made.
It's a what?
Midi, like a midi dress. It's where the
it's a mid split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the way it's made. Do you want to pass or do you want to pass a rule about these two? Like she's just like flat out.
Yeah, you
which
dumb
is exactly
bastard.
It's like, oh, can I not wear this now? And it says the girl smiled sweetly to Mr. Childers' face as he walks around. Everybody's telling him good morning, good morning. But then Jeff shows up and goes, 3 men are AWOL today, Dan. I think they're looking for other jobs. And
because they can't look at these girls' asses?
Mr. Childers goes, why would they do that? We've never had a morale problem. You mean just because? That's silly, Jeff. But yeah.
It's all because they can't see their ass cheeks? Is that what it is?
We can't object. You made it where we can't objectify these women anymore just by staring at them.
I hate this place.
Oh, man. But then at least Mr. Childers told himself he'd be able to get some work done now that Gina Tate was conservatively attired. And he goes, he thinks this is more like it. And she walks in and she's like, good morning, Mr. Childers.
This is very close. This is getting very close to she asked for it.
A little bit.
You know what I mean?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, she walks in and she goes, good morning, Mr. Childers. And he's like, good morning, Miss Tate. Miss Tate, you always pull something, don't you? And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's that exotic perfume you're wearing, Miss Tate. I simply won't allow it to happen. And she's like, I can ask Mr. Brown to come in, Mr. Childers. We'll get a second opinion on this. And Jeff walks in and goes,
that woman.
Yeah, essentially that's what he does. And Jeff goes, just soap and water, Mr. Childers. Oh my God. You want an interoffice memo saying they can't wash either? Like even the dude is getting in on this.
Wow.
And she goes, thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Childers, may I speak to you alone? And so Gina pulls him aside. And he's like, what, Miss Tate? And she goes, I think you better get yourself another secretary, Mr. Childers. And he's like, no, that isn't necessary. You're very efficient. I don't want another secretary. And she goes, but you can't keep your mind on your work, Mr. Childers. I'm going to tell Mr. Brown to transfer me to outer office. You see, Mr. Childers,
office?
I can't keep my mind on work either.
Okay. Yeah.
Jeff selected a secretary for Mr. Childers more carefully, and they made sure to make it look like a librarian kind of. It's like, and tell personnel to disregard clothing code memos of 16th and 22nd.
Yeah.
And then Miss
two different memos
about
mini, clothing.
I'm assuming he passed the mini.
Mini and the maxi.
Yeah, and the mini.
And the mini.
But she shows up. Miss Tate shows back up, and Dan or Mr. Childers tells her that she looks splendid. And he goes, "Oh, stop being such a stuffed shirt, Dan. Stuffed shirt? That's not respectful, Miss Tate. And what are you up to, Dan? I knew I couldn't last from the first day you eyeballed me when I reported to you.
Yeah.
When the first day you essentially just did me with your eyes when it was just weird and creepy from across the room. Oh man. It wouldn't matter if I washed in laundry soap and came to work in a burlap sack. I'd turn you on, and you have the same effect on me. And he goes, I do? And they kiss. And then he goes, I should have realized, Gina. The others will really laugh when they find out about how I feel about you. And Gina goes, no, they won't. They already know, Dan. You were the last one to find out.
How sweet. How sweet. I love when objectifying women turns into romance.
I know,
that's
right?
The best. Yeah.
There we go. And that is this week's.
What a fucking creep that dude is. I can't get anything done. Put your vagina away.
Kind of had a little Matt Berry in there.
Your vagina.
I know you can't see this, and this is only amusing to me, and this will just show you. You know how when you have your mouse button, when you click over things, sometimes it has the hand?
Yeah.
So I have my mouse on the screen, and I didn't know that when I took it out of full screen, and it's sitting like right on top of the mic right here. And it looks nice. Now it's on my nose.
Good job. You did it.
So that was
accident.
only funny to me. Anyway, those are ridiculous romance comics that we covered.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah.
Put that in your pipe and
we probably won't have any more next week. Now that I think about it,
was rough. That last one was honestly, that was rough. Because the one about the mermaids, who gives a shit? I mean, it's funny, it's whatever, it's goofy. And then the middle one, well, I guess the middle one actually was pretty rough too. I mean, he went up and grabbed her, and that
punched her boyfriend.
Yeah,
and then she dated him, but then she was like, "Oh, I'll domesticate him." Then when she did, was like, "What have I done?" And like pushed him until he spanked her, and then she was happy about it.
Yeah. No, those last two, those were, but I don't know. There's something even creepier about a guy who's in charge of an office like that,
passing clothing memos.
He's passing the clothing memos. He's saying, I can smell you from over here, that kind of stuff. It's just, there's something very creepy about that.
But that was our latest one too. That one was from the 70s.
From the 70s. Yeah, absolutely.
Just goes to show you they can never get it right.
Women's lib.
Anyway, those were our ridiculous romance comics for this week's episode. Coming up again on Wednesday, we have Batman, the College Years for World's Finest Wednesday, so don't forget to check that out.
He doesn't oogle anybody in that one.
He does not oogle anyone. But
Batman can keep his cool.
He can, but
he's got a like Catwoman slinking around. He's got Poison Ivy all rubbing on his Poison Ivy parts.
No, I don't think Poison Ivy's into him at all.
Oh, is Catwoman the only one that's into him?
Yeah, Catwoman's the only one that's ever into him.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
I would think Batman would just be, like beating him off with a stick.
Well, here's the thing. Again, this falls into me thinking that it's more Batman being the real person, not Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne picks up that front, and he doesn't want anything really deep. So it's just like anybody, like it works for him of like, oh, I'm a rich playboy. Of course, this hot Russian ballerina will want to go out to dinner with me one night. Like, he doesn't have to.
I'm guessing after a while,
I guess
too, you're putting off that kind of air.
Yeah, so sometimes you might not even need to bring anybody because they just know the kind of person you are.
Yeah. So. Okay. All right, you talked me into it.
Yeah, but no, Poison Ivy's into Harley Quinn. I'm pretty sure it's been like that for a while.
Okay.
Not just cartoon wise. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm watching the morning show right now. I told you that, right?
With Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston and all. And the only reason
I watched that back in the day. It's been a while.
It's not bad, honestly. It's a really well-made show. It's just a soap opera, is all it is. But I like the fact that it's set in that world.
For sure.
So you get to see some of the behind-the-scenes kind of stuff, or what you think it might be like. But yeah, that turned into a whole lesbian romance thing.
Oh yeah, no,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I mean,
the more you know.
No, what I'm saying is like, good for them because they didn't make that part of their advertising. You know what I'm saying? Like it could have been very tittillating, like, oh, watch.
We'll use it. Yeah. No,
watch what's her face kiss what's her face. That kind of thing. And that I didn't even know it until I went into it. So I mean, I thought, well, it's actually a decent way to handle it.
No, I get that. I can get behind that. What else? Batman College. Oh, I was trying to think of what else to say. Everybody go vote if you haven't voted yet.
Vote.
On what of those 3 issues you want us to break down more. We'll probably do that in March. I figured I'd give us a month to leave it up there to let people vote and to get everything done then. But that is, I think that does it for
Valentine's Day.
It's still like a
yeah, I know. But you got to make your plan.
A week and a half. Nothing.
I have 3 reservations.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason is because, okay, Small rant, just real quick about Valentine's Day. Number one, it's made up. It's not a thing. Yeah. It's not a real thing. But at this point, we're kind of required to do it. Mm-hmm. You make these reservations at these places. Like I've made a reservation at Herringbone, mm-hmm. made a reservation at Pivo Bar, mm-hmm. and I made a reservation at some other place. I don't know what it is. Okay. I have to look through my emails. The problem is once you make this reservation, then they send you a thing and said, hey, by the way, just letting you know, it's going to be a special dinner that night, 7 courses, and it's $120 per person.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, well, had I known that going in, I wouldn't have reserved your table.
Yeah.
They feel like because it's Valentine's Day, they can just drop that shit on you and you're fine with it.
And you're obviously not fine.
I'm not fine with it. I mean, number one, it's like, here it's $120 a person, which, mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't mind if it's, this big deal. That's great. But part of it is like, oh, we're going to pair a drink with every meal and all that stuff. Well, I don't drink. Yeah, well, then what am I doing with that? You're going to just give me extra bread or what? How do I get my money's worth?
Suzanne can only drink so much for you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Turned my wife into an alcoholic because I wanted to take her out to dinner.
Oh man!
But then I just got an email from somebody who's having some sort of weird sweethearts dinner. So maybe we'll do that.
Weird sweethearts dinner?
That's at Baylor, so it's weird.
Why is that weird?
You know how they treat that stuff.
True, fair enough.
It all culminates with a midnight spanking, or something.
And they'll send you home with your own own bed sheet with a hole cut in it.
Your own mermaid.
Oh man, Undone. Time to see her water tricks, water stunts, water stunts. Oh man! All right, that does it for us. Make sure to go.
Like we went out with a whimper, not a bang.
We did. All right, let me try to bring this in. Thank you guys as always for tuning in and watching or listening or however you just digest this content. We appreciate it very much. I need to go back and respond to some comments on YouTube that I haven't yet.
Yeah,
but we appreciate everyone that we get.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys voting when you have. We appreciate you listening when you have. Everything that you can do. I can't just tell you how much it means to me, and I appreciate it so much. I need to get some new shorts out this week, so we'll have that too. As always, check out the other great family of podcasts on the Rogue Media Network.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Hey, Galicon.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.